A clip of YNW Melly praying and blowing a kiss during his murder trial has gone viral.
He was doing it a couple times. That wasn't his first time.
The victim's mother says it was disrespectful.
What you praying for? Because you sitting over there like you don't got no remorse. Like every time I walk in, you smiling. You know, this ain't the time for that. This case is sad.
Melly, whose real name is Jamel Demon, is accused of killing 2 friends in 2018 and covering it up as a drive-by.
Guns in my head and they won't go.
Spirits in my head and they won't go.
I got guns in my head and they won't go.
Spirits in my head and they won't.
The internet's been on fire ever since those interrogation tapes leaked. Not screenshots, not rumors, actual video of Jacoby Mills sitting across from investigators, shaking, stressed, and dropping details that twist this case into something way darker than anyone expected. People thought they already knew the story. They didn't. Because what Mills says in that room pulls the curtain back on a night that's been argued about for 6 straight years. And it doesn't just raise questions about loyalty, it challenges everything we thought we understood about how Sack Chaser and Juvie lost their lives. The wild part is these tapes didn't leak years ago when the case first blew up. They surfaced in November 2025, right when the retrial is heating up, and the timing has everybody talking. This isn't the kind of footage lawyers want floating around before jury selection. Because once people watch Mills break down the timeline, the emotions, the fear, and what he claims Melly did after the shots, it's basically impossible not to form an opinion. And trust me, that's exactly why this footage is causing absolute chaos. Mills wasn't some outsider who barely knew the crew. This was a childhood friend who grew up with all of them. Someone who was close enough to understand the relationships, but far enough to avoid being in the Jeep. And that alone turns his testimony into one of the most requested pieces of evidence in the entire case. But to understand why his words hit so hard, you have to look at the foundation of this story. A night that started with music and ended with 2 young rappers dead inside a gray Jeep Cherokee parked outside a hospital. For years, the official story was a drive-by shooting. Bortland brought the bodies in. He told nurses and police that someone pulled up and sprayed the car while they were driving. It sounded believable at first, because drive-bys happen all the time in Florida, but the moment detectives looked at the Jeep, the entire story fell apart. The bullet paths didn't match, the glass pattern didn't match, and the kicker, both victims had shots that came from inside the vehicle. The inside-out angle changed everything. It meant the killer wasn't some random car on the road. It meant someone inside that Jeep fired those rounds. And Melly was sitting in the exact seat those bullets appeared to come from. When forensic experts explained that the exterior bullet holes were added after the victims were already gone, the drive-by story collapsed entirely. Which brings us back to Mills. Because when you hear him talk, it's clear he had no idea investigators already had this kind of evidence. And his raw reactions make the footage even more intense. Before the tragedy, the whole group had been at New Era Recording Studio. It should have been a normal night. Late night session, people tired, everyone trying to work, but Mills says the vibe was off. People were irritated. Sack Chaser, known for being hot-headed, was slapping people awake because they kept dozing off. And when you have a long-standing crew with money issues, pressure, ego, and rising fame, moments like that can turn messy quickly. There had already been whispers about a big record deal. Something worth over $100,000. Sack Chaser reportedly felt like he deserved half. Not just a cut. Half. He believed he was the one managing things. Others disagreed. According to people close to the situation, the money argument had already caused serious tension in the group. The studio session ended, and everyone split into 2 cars. 4 in the red Mitsubishi, 4 in the gray Jeep. Security cameras tracked both vehicles, leaving the same route for a while, but this is where things drift into a darker lane. Exactly where the crew lived. But the Jeep never showed up. Instead, it traveled north, then west toward the Everglades, a pitch-black area. No streetlights, no traffic, no cameras, a place where nobody would see or hear anything. That location becomes one of the most important pieces of evidence in the entire case. When detectives later searched the route where the drive-by supposedly happened, the road was clean. No casings, no broken glass, no skid marks, no bullet damage, nothing. Meanwhile, the autopsy revealed that Sack Chaser and Juvie were already gone by the time the exterior shots were fired, meaning whoever shot them inside the vehicle later tried to stage the crime. Now, Here's where Mills' footage snaps everything into focus. He says he originally tried to get into the Jeep that night, but something pulled him away. Call it instinct, fear, divine guidance. Whatever it was, he didn't get in. And because he didn't, he ended up watching the entire chain of events from a distance. Once they got back to the house, Mills says the vibe was tense. People were confused, tired, and irritated. Most went inside and crashed. That moment shook him, because nobody outside the group should have known anything was happening at that hour, unless the situation spiraled way deeper than a simple argument. Then his phone started blowing up. Melly called him repeatedly. Same with Drew, the videographer. Mills says he eventually answered a FaceTime call where Melly was acting devastated, but Mills didn't believe a single second of it. He says Melly was fake crying, with no tears, just performing. And that's the detail that caught the internet by surprise. Because a lot of people had always questioned how Melly appeared so calm when news first broke. After the call, Mills says the crew eventually met up and noticed something else. Melly had changed clothes. Instead of what he wore at the studio, he was now in gym shorts and a tank top. M isn't something you ignore, especially when two people you grew up with aren't answering the phone. And then comes one of the most disturbing claims in the entire leak: .40 caliber gun. He even admits he held it before a manager grabbed it out of his hand. The weapon was never recovered by police. Investigators have spent years saying they couldn't locate the gun used. Mills' claim fills a hole the prosecution had been highlighting since day one. He also mentions a second weapon, something like a tech, but says they never located it. That missing gun has been a major point of speculation for years. But the pressure didn't stop with evidence. Mills says he feared for his life and his family's life. He constantly tells investigators that he isn't a snitch, that in the streets, talking comes with consequences. And you can see how torn he is, wanting to survive, but also trying to explain what he witnessed. Around this time, rumors began spreading about a storage unit being rented the next morning. Sack Chaser's family members can be heard in leaked phone calls suggesting clothes and belongings were moved there. They believed someone was trying to hide things before police arrived. The more these leaks drop, the deeper the mess becomes. Not just legally, but emotionally. Families are fighting online. People are exposing past texts, comments, messages, and every new piece of footage pulls more people into the story. Out of nowhere, Mills mentions NBA YoungBoy knowing too much about what happened. He brings up an alleged remix where YB supposedly referenced the situation. Nothing official has surfaced, and there's no federal link between YB and the murders. But the fact that Mills attached YoungBoy's name to the story made social media explode instantly, especially because YB and Melly's camps have had friction before. It doesn't prove anything, but in this world, rumors spread faster than facts, and fans treat speculation like gospel. As the leaks hit millions of views, the legal system took a hit too. Lawyers now have to find 12 jurors who haven't watched a second of this footage. That's nearly impossible when TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube keep circulating clips everywhere. Analysts already expect the defense to request delays, venue changes, and suppression motions. Because even though these tapes might not be allowed in court, public opinion can still swing the moment someone presses play. Civil lawsuits are another story. Those have a lower burden of proof. More evidence is allowed. And the families of both victims are pushing hard for answers. And accountability. Fredo Bang has already been pulled into depositions because Mills said Melly went to his house after the murders. That just shows how wide this case has spread into the industry. Meanwhile, the argument around snitching has split the hip-hop community. Some say Mills did the right thing, others say he broke the code. But nobody is considering what it feels like to sit in the middle, knowing your friends might be gone because of someone you trusted, and knowing that speaking up could put a target on your back forever. This story isn't just about one night. It's about loyalty that twisted into fear, money that twisted into greed, fame that twisted into violence. A group of friends that grew up together only to fall apart in the most brutal way possible. Melly has been locked up for more than 6 years now without a final verdict. Some people believe the evidence is overwhelming. Others believe the case is messy, inconsistent, and driven by internet pressure. But no matter which side someone is on, the leaked interrogation changed the conversation instantly. It showed raw emotion, confusion, regret, suspicion, and the kind of details nobody expected to ever hear out loud. Now the retrial is set for 2027. Prosecutors are still pushing for the harshest sentence possible. The defense is gearing up for another long battle. Families are still grieving, fans are still arguing, and the hip-hop world is waiting to see where the truth finally lands. The events of October 26, 2018 didn't just reshape a court case. They reshaped careers, friendships, families, and a culture that's still trying to understand how everything went so wrong so fast. If you're curious to go deeper, check out the next video on your screen. There's a lot more to this story, and we're just getting started.